Can we really and truly get healthy? Can we be healthy? And what does that even mean? Is it just physically healthy, or can we also be healthy financially, socially, in our mind, body, and soul? All of these areas. That's the topic of today's podcast. We're also going to share a story of a woman who came to a chiropractor with neck pain, but how what she ultimately got was so much bigger and deeper. How health is more about fulfilling our full potential than it is what we look like, what we sound like, or even what we feel like. I'm Jenna Quinton, founder of Adjust Your Media and host of What Chiropractic Doesn't Cure, Stories of Innate podcast. This is a really juicy podcast episode, and there's lots of resources that we put in the show notes, so be sure to go and look for those, including more about my membership, Adjust Your Marketing Blueprint, where I show you how you can share your stories and do it more efficiently and just save you lots of time in the process. So let's get started. Today on What Chiropractic Doesn't Cure, Stories of Innate podcast, I have a chiropractor who practices in Stratford, Ontario. He's also was a Parker Seminar speaker back in the day, and I just had the privilege of hearing him speak at Dynamic Essentials. He's a wonderful communicator of the principles. So welcome, Dr. Steve LaFay.
Oh, thanks, Jenna. What a pleasure to be here. And thank you for what you do, because you are a powerhouse in delivering the message that will help humanity. So thank you for being inspired and doing what you do.
Well, it's really my pleasure, especially when chiropractors like yourself make it so easy and so fun. So, as we always start, let's start with a story, and then we have so many other good things that we're going to get into. But Let's start with a story. Somebody whose life improved with chiropractic care.
Sure. Well, I've been blessed to be in practice 27 years, and I've seen lots of it. But this particular story is one I wanted to share because I really didn't do anything different with this lady than I do with anyone else who comes in the office. And I really didn't do anything different than all the wonderful chiropractors out there do. I just happen to be more aware of it, right? B.J. Palmer wrote that we may never know how far-reaching something we may think, say, or do will affect the millions of lives tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
But in this one case, I did become aware of it, and it really impacted me. So I'd love to share the story. So a lady came into my office, 59-year-old lady, came to my office back in the summer, complaining of her neck was bothering her and she had headaches. So like most chiropractic offices, we ask a lot about the symptomatology. We certainly did take a thorough history. We did everything that we were supposed to do. We're very thorough in our examinations with range of motion, posture exams, and I took some x-rays of her upper neck so that I could see that her upper neck was misaligned. We call that subluxation in this profession proudly. And so that was blocking or interfering with the way her brain and her body were communicating. So her expression, her innate intelligence wasn't flowing through her the way it could be. We in chiropractic, principal chiropractors understand that. But for any of the public listening, it just makes sense. So when I showed that to her, she got it. She was like, okay, let's take care of this. So she started coming to the office for her adjustments. So we'd check and adjust her and clear, check her and adjust her and clear. And on her 24th visit, I give out a little sheet of paper that just asks for improvement levels. Okay, so we do that, and then we do another check-in. And so it goes. It just basically says, give us the presenting complaint and tell us percent improvement and any comments. So I'd like to share with you exactly what she said.
Yeah.
She said, the pain in the base of my skull and tenderness is 100% improved. And that happened within the first couple of weeks. It cleared up. This is her wording. The headaches, 100% improved. The headache stopped, I think, on the second adjustment. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
The left side of her neck and shoulder pain, 100% improved. Tenderness and pain gone after about the fourth week. So the body innate heals by priority. It knows. It's so much smarter than any doctor, any chiropractor, all of us put together. The wisdom of her body was taking care of things in priority for her, is what I see when I read that. The left side above her hip area down in the back is 75% improved. It feels good most of the time, but still sore a couple of times a week. So she's in process, right? Lower back pain, 100% better. Feels great. Haven't thought about it for weeks. So that is great, right? But like you're saying in your podcast, I don't treat any of that. Chiropractic doesn't fix any of that. All we do is find the areas that interfere with the way her intelligence that she was born with, that innate intelligence flows through her, that wisdom, that loving wisdom. And we just adjust that and reduce the interference, and then her body does the rest. People say, I need your magic hands. I say, the magic isn't in me, the magic's in you. If that was all this was about, I would be well pleased. But this is the cool part. Can I share this part with you, Jenna?
Yes,
You're
absolutely.
going to like this. So at the bottom, we have comments. It says, please note any additional changes you have noticed in your overall well-being since receiving chiropractic care. Example, better immune function, clarity of thought, relationships, etc. So she wrote, since I've been getting adjusted, I feel more energetic. I don't find myself feeling confused or searching for words when I'm trying to explain something anymore. Most of all, I'm not crying all the time anymore, and I feel healthier overall.
Mm, yeah.
Our forms, I'd love to tell you as a principal chiropractor, my forms don't say anything about pain. That my forms say, are you crying all the time? Are you confused? Are you having trouble forming words? My sheets don't say anything about that. If
Right.
she didn't write that, I wouldn't know what a change in her being chiropractic has made.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
think my practice is full of those people. I just don't know it. And I think every chiropractic office is full of it. And we may never know how far reaching things that we think, say, or do have an effect on people today or tomorrow.
Well, and by extension, everybody that they touch. I want to go back though to this thought of you said in priority. That is such a cool thing to talk about because you said like presenting complaint. And a lot of times we think, okay, I'm in here for migraines. Please take care of my migraines first. So explain what you mean when the body's going to heal things in priority.
Sure. Well, for starters, I think one of the most liberating things I ever did in my office was give myself permission to say, I don't know.
Mm,
Because when we graduate, you have 8 years of schooling behind you, you have a doctor in front of your name, and you want to always be able to give the answer. And as an expressive, amiable that likes to please people, that was in my nature. And it became so liberating to be able to say, I don't know. So,
mm-hmm.
Jenna, I don't know when your migraines are going to go away. My job isn't to predict that. I can
Yes.
give you some framework now with 27 years in the office to tell you what to expect. But your innate intelligence. So, when we're born, if we cut our finger from birth, that finger will heal. Okay. So nobody teaches a baby how that happens. That just happens innately. It's born within us. Yes, with the spark of
Yeah.
life. Okay. So on the flip side, if we take a cadaver and cut their finger, nothing changes. Nothing happens. So we say a clear nervous system heals, and that's actually close, but not quite the truth. Life heals us. And when we go to DE, it says nothing is bigger than life up behind us on the stage. And we get to look at that all weekend and absorb that because it is life expressing itself through our brain and our central nervous system and out to our bodies that really heals us. And that
Mm-hmm.
life has the wisdom of the ages in it. Two cells became one, and then one cell became two, and two became four, and we became a fetus in the womb. And we grew and developed, and that intelligence never left us. It's still in us. So when we as chiropractors adjust people and we clear the interference, the body and the brain connect better, communicate better, and the body does what it's designed to do, and that is to heal. Now, you said about priorities. How do I know what their innate is saying is the priority to heal?
Mm-hmm.
What if they've got cancer? And we know that the immune system takes care of cancer cells all the time. So when someone expresses cancer, it just means their immune system didn't do the job to allow it to
Right.
become cancer. So how do we know that the immune system isn't working on a cancer as opposed to their migraines first? And are we arrogant enough to say that that should happen in the first two adjustments of care? So having the humility to say, Jenna, I don't know when that's going to go, but I do know this. I do know that when we find areas of subluxation, which is lux is light in Latin, sub is less than, and ation is a state of. So you are in a less state of light. You're not expressing the wisdom and the life in you the way you could be. When we find those areas and we adjust them, we bring balance to the nervous system and we get out of the way, and your body will do what it's designed to do when it's ready.
Absolutely. And I love that thought of humility and saying, I don't know, which is hard to do. I know people will ask me and they will say, well, you're the expert. You know what you're doing. You're the expert. And how freeing it really is to say, I don't know what your audience will respond to. I don't know where your body will start to heal. And in my work, I will say, let's test it. We've gathered the data.
Mhm.
You've done your thorough exam. We've gathered the data.
Sure.
We know what we're having fun with. What is the spark of an idea that we're like, ooh, I'm excited to do that. Or the spark of a story that gets us going. But after that, I don't know. I can't predict how this will go. But what I do know is, like you said, where we clear things so that we can express more life, that is definitely what we want to do. I was also thinking how easy it is to say, oh, I have headaches. I can go get that taken care of. I should go see somebody about the headaches. I should see somebody about the neck pain. How interesting it is. And maybe it is our time in history, maybe it's Western culture, I'm not sure. But it's so much easier to say, I'm going to address my pain versus I'm going to address other states of disease. I'm going to address that I'm unhappy, that my light is dim, that I'm weepy, that I'm confused. It's how pain can be that port of entry to saying, I'm not well and I feel it.
Yeah, I think you make a great point. I mean, Eckhart Tolle wrote The Power of Now, and that was a book that was really popular for a while there. And he said that awareness is a great agent of change. So on my wipe off boards this week in the room, I have that up there, and then I talk about symptoms. And I say, symptoms are not our enemy. They help us become aware of things and they move for change. If we
Mm,
were, say, at a dinner party and we were in the kitchen, because that's where people tend to associate at parties, right? And someone left a burner on the stovetop, and I didn't realize, and I got talking like I am with you, where I'm passionate. And I just go to lean on the counter, I put my hand on it. Whoa, pain would make me move my hand.
yes,
It creates change, and that prevents further damage. So in a lot of offices, we ask about symptoms because symptoms are the gateway for us to see patterns and what needs to change. So we can now not look like it's war on headaches or war on back pain or war on anything. We're not at war with anything. We're at peace with turning life on in mankind and reconnecting mankind, the physical, with mankind, the spiritual. But symptoms may be the leading edge that is the agent of change or what makes some people do something new and different. So they're actually a beautiful thing. They're part
yes,
of God's plan for us. It's why we have
yes.
symptoms.
Well, and it makes me think I have a younger sister who is very much a researcher,
Mhm.
scientist, just a brilliant mind under a great head of hair. And she gave me a book to read once called The Gift of Pain. And I'll have to
Mm.
look up the title, but it is about a medical doctor who specifically served patients with leprosy.
Okay.
And so he said, something that, we think of it maybe in ancient terms, biblical terms, but leprosy still exists. And one of the main symptoms of leprosy is a loss of sensation, so a loss of pain. And so even when patients were doing fairly well, they needed to be very, very careful because they could not feel pain. They would not know that they had been injured. They would
Sure.
not know that rats had chewed on their fingers. And they said that the main risk for a patient with leprosy was hurting themselves and not knowing it, putting that hand on the burner and leaving it there because they didn't know it was hot. And that was a revolutionary idea to me, a gift of pain. One of my clients, a chiropractor, was talking about pain and labor. And
Mm.
that really blew my mind. I have 4 children. I still remember what it feels like. I still remember that hurts real bad. But she was saying what a gift that pain is, that it's a metric for the body to determine how strong to make those contractions.
Sure.
And I thought, wow, what a gift that, if your body can feel all of itself and your nervous system and this innate intelligence that you've mentioned, it can decide how strong to make those contractions and regulate itself to say, whoa, like where we don't need to contract quite that hard. It doesn't have to hurt quite this much. But even that thought of leaning into it, leaning into the pain, what a thought.
Well, you're stimulating my ideas like you always do, Jenna. But I mean, first of all, I got to meet your son, Alex, right? And
Yes.
I mean, man, what a firecracker. I mean, he
Yeah.
is a live wire. And when you see the life, expressing through him, the way he was playing with his ball and having fun, and he was just so confident talking with me like I've known him forever, right? Thank God for a little bit of the pain that you went through to bring him into this world. What a gift,
Mm,
right? So, I mean, I look forward to meeting your other kids too. I'm
yeah.
sure they're all wonderful too, right? It makes me think a little bit about, I could tie in the thing about gratitude, right? Because
Hmm.
sometimes our greatest pains, Napoleon Hill wrote in Think and Grow Rich, that every bad thing that happens to us, every adversity has a seed of equal or greater opportunity in it. I'll
Mm,
tell you a quick story about how I became a chiropractor. So,
yes.
so when I was in grade 12, my physiology teacher said, you would make a good chiropractor. And I was like, what's a chiropractor? I had never heard the word. And now he didn't give me an overly inspired answer. He said, well, it's kind of like a medical doctor, but you don't have to have quite as good a grades to get in. And you love sports, so you'd be a great sports chiropractor. So God bless Mr. Kinney and where he was coming from. He really did care about me. That was his limited understanding of chiropractic at the time. I looked at it, I said, what would it take? He goes, well, you got to go to university. You got to take physics. You got to take, chemistry, organic chemistry. And I was so busy playing hockey at the time and really just not dedicated to my academics. I was like, that isn't going to happen. So I was floating along through a psychology degree, which, by the way, I think we're led, right? I didn't see it at the time, but I use psychology every day in my world, right?
Yes.
And so I got into a car accident and I hurt my lower back very badly. So the
Mm.
driver had split his eye open and the passenger, other guy on the other side of me had split his chin open. I looked fine, but nobody knew that I had sheared my L5S1 disc, had raging sciatica down both legs. I looked fine, but a year later, I wasn't a whole lot better. So for a
Mm-mm.
whole year, I kind of lost who I was. I couldn't play hockey. I couldn't tie up skates, never mind play hockey. And so, of course, I could go on for a long time about how my journey through chiropractic is what was the facilitator of healing me. But I always say chiropractic saved my life, but it didn't. It gave me new life. So all these years later, I mean, I get to share on the platform at DE. I get to hang with all these inspired people and learn. My brain this week is going crazy with all the new thoughts that we're going to do in the office to help people. When I look at it all, I say, if I wasn't in that car accident, I wouldn't have met you.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, I don't want to relive what I went through, but I'm grateful for it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so it's amazing how we can even become grateful for our pain, sometimes for what it teaches us. And I think that's
Yes.
where you were going.
Yes, absolutely. And even there's this thought that sometimes, like with labor pain,
Hmm.
there's a gift on the other side of the pain,
Yeah,
whether it's becoming a chiropractor, whether it's a newborn baby, or even the pain of exercising, which is my least favorite thing in the world. The pain of exercising has its own gift. Then this brings up something that I wanted to have your perspective on because
sure.
I recently saw a video of two people who were talking about health. And the man asked the woman, what is your definition of health? And she said, well, first off, everyone doesn't have to be healthy. And she said that we need to be more inclusive and that there is this idea that everyone can be healthy. And she said, and they cannot. And she brought up this idea that even people with physical limitations, that they can't reach this idea of health. So, what is your first thought with that?
Well, I mean, my first thought actually is, I think we're sold a lie when we think of what health is.
Hmm.
I think, for me, it's Men's Health. I buy, let's say, the magazine Men's Health. You go through the airport, I'm in the Tampa airport, Men's Health is there. Okay. Front cover, right? There's a dude who's like jacked. Okay.
Right,
His body fat is like 2%,
right.
washboard abs, right? And that's the image that's imprinted on the male mind going, that's health.
Hmm.
Okay. And I know for women, it's even worse, right? Like you got all these skinny runway models that don't eat and like, okay. So if we're sold the concept that that's health,
Yes.
then I agree with her. Okay. Because in chiropractic, again, we're all about the expression of life through people. Okay. And helping them express their brilliance through them. So if someone's heavy, if someone's physically disabled, any of those things, some of the greatest people who've come into my office to be adjusted have disabilities, right? So are we going to fix that disability? Maybe they don't need to be fixed. Maybe a chiropractor's job never was to fix anyone. It's to reconnect them to their brilliance, allow life to express through them so that they can be exactly who they were created to be. That's a completely different definition of health. Now, the
Hmm.
piece about not wanting to be healthy, to me, health is wealth. If you
Mm.
don't have, you could have $40 million in the bank, but if you're not healthy enough to go out and do what you love and love what you do in this world, the money's worth nothing. And
Right.
when we leave this earth, we take nothing with us. But what we leave is the legacy of what we did and the people we touched and the way we loved, gave, and served. So for me, if I don't have my health, I'm not able to come to DE.
Right.
I'm not able to be in the office this morning. I'm not able to come here and speak with you freely, right? So
Hmm.
I wouldn't be fulfilling my purpose. So to me, Health is a very valuable asset to help me express, to give and love, receive love in this world.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that you are so right about being sold a lie and this idea of a perfect human. And even it disturbs me because it is on a deeper level. This is an idea that has caused genocide, that has caused wars, that if you are not this model, then you are not worthy. And
Right.
so that's a very disturbing idea that is still being promoted, that
Mhm.
that is what health is whatever they have decided there,
Sure.
instead of this idea of going back to, like you said, what is your potential? Whoever you are, however neurodivergent, for example, you are, what is your ultimate potential? You know, for my children, even when I think, do you have to be a star reader, a star speller? You know, do you have to be a star basketball player? Do you have to be a star? All of these different things, academically, physically. No, we're not saying that's helpful, but we want you to reach your full potential. And if your full potential in math is working hard and barely passing, and you're brilliant in all of these other areas, it's the same thing in health. But it does scare me a little bit, this idea of not pursuing, not understanding health and wanting health physically, mentally, spiritually.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, let me say, the big idea that we talk about in chiropractic, it's bigger than gender, it's
Mm,
bigger than race, it's bigger than politics, it's bigger than nationalities, it's bigger than anything. The big idea is that every man, woman, and child would be checked for interference in the expression of their life, right? Chiropractic's the most inclusive of anything I've ever read. It's
yeah.
it's more inclusive than religion. It's the big
Hmm.
idea is bigger than religion. So the beautiful thing about chiropractic is, like when I was on the stage, we broke into a dance at the beginning just to shift the energy and have some fun fireball, right? And when I was on stage, I called up some of my friends, my family from DE, and they were dancing, and I was looking out. We were having a blast. And I looked out and saw people dancing uninhibitedly,
Hmm.
expressing themselves. And I was like, this is beautiful. I mean, I
Hmm.
had this whole opening I planned, and all I could say was, DE, you're beautiful. And what's
Hmm.
beautiful about it, Jenna? The freedom of expression,
Yes.
right? They're freely expressing themselves uninhibitedly. That's the intention when we check and adjust people. And that's inclusive of all people, of all shapes and sizes, of all races and religions, all creeds, all levels of ability. Chiropractic is inclusive by definition.
Yes, that's beautiful. As we've been talking about life, I feel like it fits in so well with your book, Your Magnificent Life, 7 Keys to a Life You'll Love. And I have been digging into it and just really enjoying it. I love this idea of just potential. Potential feels like the big word, like that wherever you start, you have a magnificent life. That it's not even an achievement that you receive, you have a magnificent life, and then the steps into owning that.
Yeah, the book itself, of course, life itself is magnificent. Life is a gift. We're not given any promises that life goes beyond even this interview, right? So being in the moment, being present time conscious, and loving and appreciating is a big part of the DE message. And it's a big part of life. So that book that I wrote, there's some written activities that we do in it. And one of it is assessing the 7 areas of life. So it's mental, physical, and spiritual, right? And then it's family, it's social, it's vocational, and it's financial. So we have wealth and health in all those different areas to varying degrees. So what we do with there is people get to give themselves a score on the wellness wheel out of 10 in each of those spokes, and you can kind of look at it. And then what we do is we work through a step-by-step procedure where people actually write a life purpose statement. So you have a
Mm,
life purpose statement. Napoleon Hill said, of all the greatest men, the wealthiest men in America that I have studied, the most common characteristic of all of those men is one thing. It is definiteness of purpose.
mm,
And so when we know what our chief aim is, when we know who we are, then we don't fall prey to those idealisms of saying that's health or that's success. The intention of the book is to walk people through some inner work so that they know themselves better. They make better decisions that would then allow life to express their highest values the most. So it's in like an adjustment, for someone that I can't lay hands on.
Yes. Yes. Well, I think that's beautiful. I'm really enjoying it. And I do love a book that has, like you said, exercises. There's always the little nagging thought like, oh, it's getting late. I'll come back to that. I'll fill that out later when I have a minute. And yet the adjustment is in taking the action. And it is amazing how when it's like, no, this first one is a time to experience a moment of wonder from 7 aspects of your life, things that you appreciate. And that was a beautiful moment to just think I probably did it at midnight one night where I was like, oh no, I'm too sleepy. And it was like, perfect, perfect. If you're sleepy, maybe your logical thinking brain will turn off,
Hmm.
open up your heart a little bit. In these areas, what are you grateful for? And the first one that immediately that was interesting, and now as I'm looking at it, it was birth, actually physically giving birth to my children. And actually, I did have unmedicated births, home births with all 4 of them. And some women could challenge me on this. But the first thing that I was grateful for was that feeling of crowning, of that incredible pain of this is happening and this is now, and then knowing one more push and I'm going to see this child. One more push and this stage is done. So thank you for giving me that moment of reflection to do that. And I look forward to doing the rest of the book.
Yeah, wow. Where do I even go with that? I mean, so we have 2 children and they're grown children now. My daughter now is practicing with us. You would have met her, Dr. Cass, and she's 26 and my son is 22 and he's playing varsity hockey at the college level and he's studying business. And, I was blessed to be there and be present for their birth. And I was blessed then to be able to check them immediately
Mm,
within minutes. They received their first check and adjustment. And again, it's just a beautiful thing when you adjust a baby because people think you're going to do the old, right? And so because I mean, your family's been under awesome chiropractic care with awesome chiropractors. And so but I mean, it's very light, it's gentle pressure. I say to moms, watch my finger. And if it blanches, in other words, it goes white, you'll know I'm pressing, harder and watch, and you'll see it won't even blanch. Like I'm literally only gonna kind of connect with the atlas or the axis
mm,
and do that, right? But having those experiences, whenever there's a young man in my office who's about to become a dad, I say, okay, good luck with it. Be in the moment. Cry if you need to cry. Like you don't have to be like a man. I mean, that's awful that I'm even saying that. Let it fly. Like just,
yes.
and I said, when I see you next, you're going to look different.
Hmm.
Once you see your child coming through the birth canal and then your child comes into this world, you will be a changed man.
Hmm.
And to a guy, they come back and are like, Doc, dude, I had no idea just how much it opens your heart, right?
Yeah.
Just bam. And so back to what you were saying about that particular moments of wonder. You have a moment of wonder thinking about that birth. Gratitude is the key, right? When we were at DE, we were talking about freedom and purpose and love, because love is always the biggest of all. And I said, everyone point to themselves. And to a person, of course, it's DE. So you've got all these people dedicated to lasting purpose, giving, loving, and serving out of their own abundance, just because it's the right thing to do. No expectation, right? So I look around and what everybody points at their heart.
Right.
Because innately we know we are our heart, not our head. And BJ Palmer said that was where our innate spoke, right? It's our innate intelligence. It's our educated intelligence that gets in the way sometimes, right? So the key to being on our purpose, right? Which is freeing when you're exactly who you're uninhibited and who you're to be. Like your son Alex, when we had dinner together and he's playing,
Yeah.
he's just himself. He's
Yes.
uninhibited by educated mind, right? The key to the heart is gratitude.
Amen.
And when we can become appreciative, what do we say at D all the time? I love and appreciate you, man. I love and appreciate you, sister, right?
Hmm.
Gratitude opens the heart. And when the heart is open, our head gets into alignment with the heart. And now we're a whole human being functioning the way we were designed to be, full expression. So the whole idea of the wonder is to start to open the reader's heart so that they can start to listen to the wee small voice like BJ wrote about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing all of this conversation. I would love for people to know where is the best place that they can connect with you and learn from you.
Oh gosh, well, I mean, we have a clinic website,
Perfect.
www.lafaychiropractic.com. They can certainly look us up there. Yeah, that's probably the best way.
Wonderful. I'm going to put that in the links. I'm going to put the name of the Gift of Pain book when I find the author, and
Sure.
I will put your book as well so that people can learn more about that. But thank you so much for sharing today and just for all of the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Jenna. You're an inspired woman of wisdom, and we need you. So keep doing what you're doing.